Hey, let's try that again. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Maya Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and we're now starting our Facebook Live in our Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. We are doing something new today. We are trying to have a guest come on, and so this is our second attempt. So if you are watching the replay, I just want to say hi, everybody, and welcome. And we're going to be a little bit clunky at the beginning because we are doing some tech stuff. So you can fast forward 5 minutes if you want to. No offense taken. Before I add my guest, can anybody tell me, can you hear me okay? Tell me if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up or say, yes, I can hear you. I want to check this before I add my guest. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes or no? Usually there's a little bit of a delay. So we're doing a little more tech stuff at the beginning than usual. Can you hear me? You guys are being all silent. What is going on? Very weird. Say something, you guys. I see that there's a bunch of people live. Let me reboot. Can you guys? Okay, there. Okay, good. Okay. I once added we were able to hear her, but not you. Oh. Okay. So thank you, Tina. Tina says that she has to use a headset. Okay. Great. Thank you, April. You guys are awesome. So Stephanie, Tina is saying that you need to use a headset. So like, if there's a little like earbud thing that you use to talk on the phone with, go grab that. And shoot me a message when you have that hooked in. Okay. And then I'm just going to go forward with our announcements and everything. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, usually there's a bit of a delay. And also I wasn't able to, like, sometimes I have to swipe left and then right again for my messages to actually show up. So that's why it took me a minute to see the responses from you guys. So Stephanie, shoot me a message once you've got a headset. We did do a test run last night, but we didn't realize, since it was just the two of us testing it out, we didn't realize that you guys wouldn't be able to hear us. So hopefully this is going to work. Worst case scenario, oh, I'll be so sad if Stephanie can't join us, but worst case scenario, I will go ahead and teach our lesson no matter what. So don't go away because we are definitely going to teach about house clearings. That's our topic for today. So we are dealing with a little bit of tech stuff. So be patient, and you can always, if you're watching the replay, you can always fast forward. In the meantime, before I go and message Stephanie right now, as usual, let us know where you're joining from, and just give us a quick shout out, okay? And then I'll say hi to you guys. We usually do that in every class. Today's topic is about house clearings. So hang on as we try to get Stephanie on. We were going to try to do something fun and have a guest. So let me see if I can get a hold of her. It seems like it's so much harder whenever I think this is why I stopped having, I did have a few guests a couple years ago, and it was just like so much more complicated tech-wise, and I like things to be simple. I hope this ends up being simple because I think it would be really fun to have Stephanie on more often. She's actually been a student of mine for, I don't know, like maybe 5 years. So it's been a really long time. And she has some experience with house clearings as well. So I'd love to get her input. So welcome, everybody. Do I see a message from her? No, not yet. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do shout outs. If you want to get a pen and paper, go ahead and do so. And if you're a note taker, okay, where are you? Stephanie, you've gone MIA. I don't know where you went. Okay, I see that you're here. I sent you a message. Did you see it? Are you hooked up? Are you waiting for me? I'm waiting for you. Okay, this is so funny. I'm waiting for you. I sent you a message on Facebook to ask if you had your headset set up yet so I can add you. I don't want to add you and mess it up where they can't hear me anymore. Because we've got everybody here, and no matter what, we're going to try to stay put and keep going with class. Oh my goodness. Oh, technology. Okay, so we have Tina. Hi, Tina from Kansas City, Missouri. We have Joe from Mazatlan, Mexico. We have Tana from Independence, Missouri. And we have lots of other people. We have several people joining live. So welcome, everybody. Now, I just want to do a quick just a little bit of announcements. And Nora is saying hello. Where are you joining from, Nora? I was just thinking about you. Are you still on the road or are you back home? So I'm still looking for a message from Stephanie. We're just going to keep going forward. If Stephanie's able to join, that'll be awesome. If not, we're just going to keep going. Jessica is from Uland, Texas. Cool. Thanks for helping me pronounce that. That's awesome. April from Livingston, Texas. So we have people from all over. This is a Facebook Live in our Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. Nora is joining from Russellville, Arkansas, back home. Nick is in 56, Arkansas. And wonderful. We just got a message from Stephanie. She is trying to get it set up. No worries. It's all good. And we're patient. We'll just keep going until she's able to join. We've got plenty to cover. So awesome. And we've got a bunch of people commenting. So we've got Karen. Hi, Karen from Oro Valley, Arizona. And I'm sure that you know, I moved to this area in Tucson, which is very close to Oro Valley, a little over a year ago. So I look forward to when COVID is done and when we can have some kind of an in-person class. That'll be awesome. So I can meet some of you local Tucson people. And I was just thinking today, when am I going to go? I mean, obviously not yet, but when am I going to make my first trip back to Kansas City? Because I moved from there. And so I was just thinking about you Kansas City folks and what I would do, where I would stay and everything. So Jeannie is joining us from Piper, Kansas. Nick is commenting, Livingston, I lived there growing up. And we've got Jeannie again. Yep, got it. Cool. Okay. So, couple of announcements before we get into our lesson about house clearings. So the first one is for the benefit of those of you watching the replay. Now, as I've been explaining in my past few videos, obviously this is a Facebook Live. This is you guys who are watching the replay on YouTube get the benefit of being able to watch this replay even though you're not in the Facebook group. And a big focus of our Facebook Live is interacting, developing relationship. It's not just about teaching. So I know I've gotten some feedback on YouTube, just get to the lesson. Well, hey, you guys, this is free. You're getting a bunch of teaching from me for free. So just deal with it. And I'm not going to edit out any of our talking and chatting. You're just going to have to survive. If you don't I know this sounds rude, but I don't mean it that way. If you don't like those kinds of videos, then this might not be the channel for you. So we are here to develop relationship, get to know each other, and to go over some content. Okay. If you want to join the Facebook group, then go ahead, and then you can have the benefit of interacting, and it is really a lot of fun. Okay, it is set up. Raymond helped me. I have never used it before. Yay, we're gonna try to add. So Stephanie, I think you might have to put in another request. There she is. Awesome sauce. It's funny that I have to even make that announcement about about my YouTube people. I love you guys on YouTube, but I think it's just more of a troll land. It just is. That's the nature of YouTube. Okay, let's try to add Stephanie. Okay, now everybody, drum roll. Let's see if we can still hear.
I can still hear you, Maya.
Yes! Hallelujah. So now it's super easy. Now we know we know what to do next time because I really want to
Yes.
have you on more often.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
I know. I'm so glad. And I'm really grateful for those of you who explained what it is that we needed to do to make this work. Thank you very much for doing that. Tina, thank you very, very, very much. Um, so I've already gone over some preliminary announcements, talked about the Facebook group, talked about the topic that we're going to be covering today, house clearings. And now let's do a little bit of introduction. So first I want to introduce Stephanie. And Stephanie has been a student of mine for, I don't know, like maybe 5-ish years. It's been since I was in Kansas City, since I lived in Overland Park, Kansas.
It's been a long time. It's so
Yeah.
hard to keep track because all the time just flies so fast.
Yeah, so we've known each other for a while. Um, and over the years, I've really seen Stephanie really develop her spidey sense, is what I call it, that ability to be able to see what's truth and what's false light. It's been so awesome to see that transformation for you to be able to develop that discernment. And nowadays, Stephanie has been doing house clearings and one-on-one sessions, obviously long distance because it's COVID time right now, but one-on-one sessions with people. And so she has her own work that she's doing. So Stephanie, can you give us a little bit of information about where you are on Facebook in case people want to find you, and a little bit about what you do because your work is a little bit different than mine.
Yeah. So my name is Stephanie Hart, and you can find me. My Facebook page is called Flowering Embodiment. And I'm also on Instagram under the same name, Flowering Embodiment. And I'm still working on my website, but that should be live hopefully soon. I'm getting really excited about that. And it will be floweringembodiment.com. And I do a lot of different things, but one of the things I'm really passionate about is I love to help people reclaim their bodies and reclaim their energy fields. I've gone through so many years of training and just healing myself, and healing from so many different things, from toxic relationships and from childhood stuff, that just clearing off the energy that we soak up when we go through those things. So I really love to help people just to reclaim themselves, recall back their power, and that one of those tools I can do is long distance healing sessions with that. But recently been doing some house clearings up here in the Portland, Oregon area. I currently live in Vancouver, Washington, is where I am living, and it's just been amazing to continue on this journey and learning from you, Maya, and now reaching out and helping other people. And so I'm super excited for all the stuff that's been coming through this year that I'm going to do and start offering. And so I'm just really excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here too. And I think it's also a really great way to just mix up the energy. Everybody's been listening to my talking head for a couple of years, and it's good to have somebody else in here. It just brings a different dynamic, and I'm really picky about who I, just FYI, everybody, I'm really picky about who I will let come onto my Facebook Lives because I'm a protective mama bear with everybody in the group. And so please take that as a huge compliment, Stephanie, that I just think you have wonderful energy and I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you. And it's so nice
Oh,
to meet all of you.
mm.
Many of you I've probably met in groups and in this Facebook group since I've been here for a while, and it's super excited to get to come on here and talk about this topic that is so important and so needed in all of our lives.
Well, before we get into I see some comments. So before we get into our lesson and reading comments and everything, I wanted to just say, Stephanie, I got your package today. And I'm not going to go into everything that was in the package,
Mhm.
but I just want to say that she got me these cat socks that look just like my cat. And it was so awesome. And some cat toys for my cat, and this cool bracelet. And
And
I
now we
told
have
them,
matching ones because I have
I
a matching bracelet.
so just a little side tangent here. If someone you really love gives you a piece of jewelry, when you wear it, you get to benefit not just from, whatever it looks like or whatever the gemstone might be, but also it connects you. It's like you get to receive their love and support when you're wearing it. So you can actually think of that as a protective amulet. Like there are other bracelets and pieces of jewelry that people have given me over the years, people that I know really care about me and that I really care about them. And when I put it on, it's very intentional. Like I know that it's helping to make me stronger. So if you have any jewelry like that, any bracelets, earrings, whatever, rings, whatever it might be, or just a crystal that somebody gave you, just know that that adds to the power of protection and healing of that piece of jewelry. So that was the first thing that I thought of as soon as I put it on was like, yay, Stephanie's energy. I love to put this on. Awesome. And Stephanie is really great at manifesting. I think she's better at it than I am. And so I was like, yay, Stephanie manifesting energy. Like it's like, Wonder Woman bracelets. Let me read comments here. Jessica says it's nice to meet you. April says nice to meet you, Stephanie. Hello. Rochelle says hello. Cool. So how we're going to do this is I'm going to just start talking about our lesson just like I normally do. So there will be periods that seem just like our usual Facebook Live. And then there's going to be periods where I'll stop and I'll ask Stephanie what else she wants to add. We figured that that would be a little bit easier. Stephanie was expressing, like, you're just not as used to doing Facebook Lives. So it's not that I'm trying to hog anything, but more just trying to be supportive and make it easier. So uh, it's a little bit easier for Stephanie. Joe is saying, can we get manifesting advice from Stephanie too? Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, like go to her Facebook group, Flowering Embodiment, and you'll see she has a certain approach in manifesting, and you can get a feel for that and join the group if I'm sure that it'll resonate for you guys, but if it resonates, then join the group, right? That's where you can get connected. Yeah, makes sense. Sound good, Stephanie?
Yes.
Mm.
The Facebook page, Flowering Embodiment, in the Facebook page, you can scroll down and you'll be able to see the name of my group, which is a little bit
Okay.
different. And the group, I'm just getting started. So there's not a lot posted, but I'm going to be posting more. I love to work with gemstones and essential oils. So those are two things I work with a lot.
Cool. All right. Well, maybe you'll get going even more on it because I'm a go-getter and you work with my energy. If we're doing Facebook Lives together, you're going to have more people joining your group. That's just what's going to happen.
Yes.
So, let's look at our lesson, house clearings. So, before we jump into all of the nuts and bolts, grab your pen and paper. I also want to be super clear about my vision for when I do these Facebook Lives. It's always the clarity of what I'm giving to you is that it's always introductory content, beginner content, basic nuts and bolts to help you get started. And that's intentional. Okay. So, but there's like so much, there's such a huge scope of uh, beginner content that I can give you, which is why there's like a zillion free videos on the YouTube channel. But it's all very basic. And so please don't expect that you're going to learn all of the steps for how to do a house clearing in this free video, because that's not actually how I do the free videos. You're going to get some interesting ideas. And Stephanie and I are going to chat about some ideas as well. And then I am going to give you a couple of tips and steps at the end, as well as what you can do if you need help or if you want help to go a whole lot deeper. Okay, so just so we all understand that. So I've got a comment from Tina. Have her type it in the name of the group. So there's no, yeah. So go ahead and type it in the comments. And then you can also go ahead and post in the group later with your, so Stephanie, you can post in our group later, like your exact links, and then everybody can just click straight through. Cool? Okay, so let's start out with what exactly is a house clearing, sometimes also called a house cleansing or a house blessing. And why would you have one done, or why would you do one? So, so sometimes people will hire somebody like Stephanie or myself to come out and do a house clearing. But sometimes you will do it yourself. In fact, I highly encourage you to learn at least the basics of how to do a spiritual cleanse for your own house, because it's like the difference between if you never learned how to brush your teeth and you totally depend on going to the dentist every 6 months and you think that's going to be enough, and it's just not going to be enough. So, um, why would you have one done? What exactly is it? So, first of all, you would do a house cleansing. You would work on cleansing the spiritual energy of your house simply to improve the energy. Okay, so like just living in your house and being you and having an average life, you still need to cleanse your energy, even if there's nothing major going on. It's just like every day you need to shower. Hopefully, you need to shower, you need to brush your teeth, you need to clean yourself. It's the same thing with you need to cleanse the energy in your home on a regular basis. It's just part of regular maintenance. Just like with your vehicle, you need to wash it once in a while, otherwise, it gets mud all over it, right? It gets dirty and you can't even see out the front window. So, don't think of a house cleansing as necessarily having to be only done in an emergency. It's actually something that's part of your regular maintenance and self care for your home. So, now there's another reason why you would do a house cleansing or have one done, and that would be if you've recently moved or if you were planning on moving. And so yesterday I did a house cleansing. The owners were moving out, and there had been some weird energy in the home, and they wanted to make sure that it was totally cleansed so that the new whoever buys it in the future is not going to have to deal with all of that weird energy, and also it will sell more quickly if all of the negative energy has been cleansed out. You might do some kind of house cleansing when there's been some kind of a life change, any kind of life change, a change in your job, change in relationship, like anything. Maybe it's the new year and you want to just really overhaul your energy and you're doing like an herbal cleanse or a juice cleanse and you want to cleanse your house too. You will also need to cleanse your house if there's been a major trauma or just some kind of major upheaval or even a big argument. And especially you'll want to do a house cleansing if there's been a death, especially a death in the house, but even a death in the family, really any kinds of intense situations are going to have an effect on the energy in your home. And so, whatever the intense situation has been, you'll want to address that by clearing out any non beneficial energy and drawing in positive energies of peace, healing, protection, etc. Now, another reason why you would want to spiritually cleanse your home would be if you're having signs of paranormal activity. Okay. So, any kind of ghost situations, negative entities, etc. Now, I'm going to go over, even though this is a little bit off of our main topic, I'm going to take a second to explain what some of those signs of paranormal activity might be. So, if you're new to all of this and you don't really know, you will know what to look out for potential issues. And if you are, by the way, having issues with paranormal activity, the type of cleansing and the tools that you will use will need to be more heavy duty. And Stephanie and I are going to talk about that in a little bit. But some signs of paranormal activity might be um, a bad smell in the house or in a region of the house that is unexplainable. It's not just that you didn't take your trash out. It's like there's just a weird smell or a bad smell. Can smell like something died, or can smell like a sulfur smell, or like just any kind of awful smell. If there are objects that move, like if you literally see something move without you moving it, then that's definitely a sure sign. Or even if there are missing objects, like you set something down, and like I've had people say when they had entity activity in their home that like their car keys ended up inside their refrigerator, like weird stuff like would get moved and it would disappear and then the next day it would show up. If there are cold spots in the home, and there's no draft, but there's just an area, a room that's always cold, no matter if you turn the heat up to 80 degrees, it's still freezing in that area. If there's a creepy feeling, if you get like the um, chills on the back of your neck kind of feeling, or if you feel like something is touching you, uh, whether you're awake or at night, you feel like there's something that's touching you. You might hear a voice. Um, and in more extreme circumstances, you might feel like you're being attacked. There's also emotional symptoms that can come up where you feel a sense of dread or like you're going to have a panic attack, but you don't know why, and there's no actual life circumstances that are causing it, and it only happens when you're in your home or in that particular room. Um, that could be a sign of some paranormal activity going on. And then also at night, there are situations where you might feel like something is pressing down on you or you can't breathe. Nightmares can be a sign of paranormal activity, or if you have a nightmare, it could just be simply your own mind working through unresolved traumas. So uh, it can be. So a nightmare can be a sign of paranormal activity. Also, a strange amount of bad luck where like everything is breaking or all sorts of terrible things start happening. You might need to look at maybe there's something happening in your home or that's being done to you. So there's actually a difference between if you personally are under attack of some kind, or if the activity is more based in your home or on that location or piece of land. But either way, whether you're personally dealing with something or it's really the location, either way, a house cleansing, a house clearing is recommended. So we're going to go into some real basic information on what to do, some different things that we do in house cleansings. But before I do, is there anything else that you want to add for this part, Stephanie?
Yeah, I had a few thoughts as you were talking, and one of the things that I was thinking about too is that I used to do a house clearing or a house blessing in my own house with the moon cycle. So every full moon or new moon. And doing that a lot definitely changes the energy in your house. And that can also change your manifesting abilities, is when you clear the space that's around you. So just tying that in there. And I was thinking about the different things I experienced when I did the house clearing here with a colleague of mine recently, the cold spots. We definitely felt like a couple of those. And so it's interesting, everything that you've mentioned. I was like, oh, yep, I felt that, or I've experienced that, as those different symptoms. Um, uh, so it's just interesting.
Perfect. Well, I love what you added. And I'm so glad that you added that part. I think it just gave a lot of people a really good idea to do their cleansing. So is there a certain time of the month, like if someone is just doing a regular, like let's say they're not having paranormal activity, but just a normal, just your normal average spiritually cleansing your house, just clearing out the normal energy, is there a certain phase of the moon that you think would be best for doing that?
Yeah, so I sometimes I change it up a little bit, but there's a website you can go to, which is almanac.com, for to learn the phases of the moon. Because when I first started, I didn't know what sign is the moon. Is it a full moon right now, or is it a new moon? And so then
Mhm.
once I used that website, I could figure out, okay, so the new moon happens like right now. That's really a good time to sometimes to cleanse out. Like the day before the new moon is called the dark moon. So I would try to do like a cleansing ritual on the dark moon. And then the actual day of the new moon or the day after, I might do like a blessing part. So to clear out anything negative or anything that I'm releasing, and then a blessing. Because then as the new moon grows, once it gets to the full moon is when it's supposed to like manifest or to appear. And so then on the full moon, it's kind of like you're having a celebration. You can do another blessing, like a gratitude blessing, because in manifesting, a lot of times there's so much that goes into it, but being grateful and being excited for what does show up helps your body to remember like what it feels like when it shows up. It's kind of like receiving it, and the more you practice receiving it, that helps. So
Mhm. I love it.
hopefully that
That's
explains
great.
your answer.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, and we didn't even plan on going down this little track. So this is great. I love this. Um, so it sounds to me also, just in case anyone has this question, that so that you could choose to work with the phases of the moon, but and that actually just helps empower and give even more energy to your intent of your cleansing or your blessing. But if there's a certain day where you are like, oh, it just feels weird in here in this living room, like you can just cleanse it. You don't
Mhm.
have to wait
Oh, yes.
10 days for the right moon cycle, right?
No,
So
yeah,
it
definitely.
just simply enhances, right? Or if you want to like have like a monthly kind of special thing that you do, then if you're going to do something monthly or twice a month, then why not um, connect it with the moon cycles, because then it's just really allowing the natural energies to support what it is that you're doing. Yeah? Okay.
Yes, I definitely agree. Like if you're feeling something in a certain part of your house or in the whole house, definitely cleanse it right away. Don't wait. Because sometimes if you wait, then it doesn't get done, or it's like it progresses later. And so you just want to like take care of it then in that moment, and feel empowered to do that.
Sounds good. Cool. Okay, now we're going to go on to what are some of the things that you do? Oh, Jessica is saying, is asking, like a ritual. Now, we're actually going to talk about some things that you would do for cleansing. And again, we're keeping it really simple. We're not going to get into any elaborate rituals. But if there was a ritual that you wanted to do, in answer to Jessica's question here, if there's a ritual that you wanted to do in connection with any of the phases of the moon, or at any point in time, you certainly could as a part of a house cleansing. And now I'm going to get into some of the real basics of what exactly do we do for a house cleansing. So if you already know all about house cleansing, just be patient with us here. We're going to go over real basics, but I think there's something for everybody in this, especially with the little conversation that we're going to have about sage in just a little bit. I think that'll be interesting for everybody. But for those of you who are new to this idea, when I talk about a house clearing or a house cleansing or a house blessing, it's just kind of this broad umbrella term that I'm using to include blessing and or cleansing and clearing. So the idea of blessing the home is like doing a consecration, doing a prayer, uh, asking for positive energy to come into the space or the land. So you're literally like saying a prayer of gratitude, saying a prayer of blessing for that space. You could also do an action. You could lay out a crystal grid, or really do anything that you enjoy doing, just with the simple intent from your heart to bless your home or the land. Okay, so the intention is to bless, but then we also have the other intention, which is to cleanse or clear the energy. And that's the kind of focus that we have, especially when there's like weird, funky energy. If you had a stressful day at work and you've brought that in with you into your living room, or you were sick for a couple of days and you walk back into your bedroom and you're like, oh, I could feel like all the energy of sickness in the bedroom. Uh, those are just normal energies that you do want to clear. You don't, it's like taking a bath and you just keep sitting in your own like dirty water. You don't want your bedroom to have all of that old energy in it. So that's that's the kind of thing that we would want to cleanse, as well as any kind of paranormal activity, entity issues, psychic attack issues. We have a lot of videos that go into more detail about what psychic attack is, so we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But if there's any kind of negative energy coming at you from an outside source, or if there's paranormal activity, we would want to think about moving that energy out. Okay, so there are actually tools, there's ways that you can cleanse and clear. Um, so I'm going to go into some of those. Let me see if I missed anything. Nope, we're good. Oh, I talked about clearing out ghosts, psychic attack, entities, negative energy just from normal everyday living. I forgot to mention that when you are more advanced in your knowledge, you can also learn how to close portals, which are doorways. They are openings in the energy where entities or energies can pass through, and you don't want that in your home. So that is something that you can learn how to do. We're not going to get into that today, but there's also something called geopathic influences, like ley lines. If your home or the property that you're dealing with is on a particular piece of land where the natural energies of the earth are a little bit funky, that's that's my special term for it. If the energies are just a little bit funky, then sometimes you have to do some things to balance or ground or cleanse the energy. So let's get into some of the tools. Again, we're being really basic here. Some of the tools that you would use for cleansing, and a lot of these you could use for consecrating and blessing as well. Number one would be water. And let's think about water right now. What are the different ways that you could use water? A lot of people will use holy water. So they'll get holy water from a Catholic church, and then they spritz. They might even have a spray bottle or a bowl of holy water, and they'll spritz it throughout the house. If you don't feel drawn to holy water, you can do things like create. You can take a big jar, a glass jar, put it out, create moon water, put it out all night in the full moon. Um, or you can even just take simple water and bless. the water, say prayers over the water, and use that to cleanse and clear your space. There's a whole bunch that I could say about water, but I do want to let you know that we go way deeper in my spiritual empowerment academy, and I'm going to talk about that at the end. There's all sorts of recipes and different things that you can do to create blessed water. And but even now, just me mentioning this might give you some interesting ideas. Like you could like here's another one just off the top of my head, is you could take a jar of water and you could put a particular crystal in that water, and then you infuse the water with the energy of that crystal, and then you can use that water to bless and cleanse your home. And I bet Stephanie will have some things to say about that once I'm done blabbing. So one of our tools for house cleansing is water. Okay. Another tool that you can use is smoke. And you create the smoke by burning various things like sage, like dried sage, like dried sweetgrass, like various other kinds of dried herbs, dried rosemary, um, dried bay leaves. What else do we have? Just there's so many different herbs that you could use that are used in a variety of different cultures. You could also burn frankincense. You've probably heard of frankincense before. Frankincense is actually something that you can't light it like you can dried herbs. You have to buy these little black discs that are incense charcoal, and you light the charcoal, and then you drop the either the powder or the little pebbles of frankincense onto the charcoal, and then it burns and creates a lot of smoke that way. There's a reason why the Catholic Church has used frankincense for many years to clear out evil spirits, is because it actually works. There's a couple of other things that I want to say, and that is that frankincense, in case you didn't know, when you buy it, it's actually dried tree sap. That's what it is. It's dried tree sap. So it's these little pebbles. And there are that other trees that work really well. There are other plants that work really well for this type of cleansing, not just frankincense, but we have things like copal and dragon's blood. Those are all the same sort of thing, where it's the dried tree sap, and you can use one or a combination of all of the above to use smoke to cleanse the environment. Once I'm done with this list, Stephanie and I are going to talk a bit about the difference between how frankincense works versus sage, using just standard sage, which is so popular. Okay, so we've talked about water, we've talked about smoke. You can also use oil for a house cleansing. So in some traditional cleansings, they will just use olive oil or just some plain oil like that. But then there's also essential oils, which we're going to ask Stephanie about in just a moment. But one thing that I like to do is I like to take some oil, usually like frankincense oil or whatever my intuition guides me to, and I'll put some in the palm of my hand, and then I will put some over, like I'll put a cross or whatever symbol is is very comfortable for the homeowners. I'll draw that above the door with the oil, so it's going to protect the area of the front door, and if there's a back door, I'll do that as well. So that's a little tip. So there's a lot of things that you can do with oil. And then salt. Salt is another tool that we use in house cleansings. Here's a little quickie tip, a little extra tip. It's so easy. You can just take table salt, like the cardboard cylinder container that you get from the grocery store that you would fill your salt shaker with. You can just take one of those and open it and pour a solid line of salt outside your front door. What this does is um, salt actually helps to disengage spiritual energies. So that's why when you take a salt bath, if there's anything that's trying to hook into your energy, that entity or negative energy will just pop off when you take a salt bath most of the time. And so it's really cool that when you place this line of salt in front of your threshold to your front door, anybody who has really negative stuff attached to them will not want to come in, or if they do, whatever is hooked onto them will drop off before the person enters. And if it wants to hop back on when they leave, then maybe it will do so. But when the person is in your house, it's very unlikely that some random ghosties are going to come in with that person because it's harder for them to cross that line. Um, I'm just going to throw in this side note, and it's that I love when there are tools that are so freaking simple that like anybody can use it and you can get it from the dollar store. Like it's so easy. And yes, there are really complicated skills that you can learn, and we go into all of them in my academy, but that's just such an easy thing that you can do that I wanted to share it with you guys. And I did that in the house clearing yesterday. And actually, when I was doing it, I thought of Jeannie. Are you here? I thought of you, Jeannie, about that story about how your neighbor was talking to you and asked you about that line of salt, and they didn't know what it was, and they thought it was to keep bugs out of your house. I thought of you yesterday when I did that during my house clearing. Okay, so we have water, smoke, oil, salt, and we also have fire. So you can, obviously you're using fire to light your herbs, light your frankincense, etc. But here I'm talking about like fire, like using a candle, a special candle for protection, or to burn something in particular. That is getting into some more complex teachings that we cover in the academy. But if there's anything that you have, that a practice that you already have, some kind of burning ritual that you already like to do, then that could be really powerful to add to your house cleansing. Then there are some other things in addition to water, smoke, oil, salt, and fire. Uh, one of them is protective symbols. So I want you to think in terms of anything that you personally, any symbol that you personally find protective. If you draw that on your wall or your front door, it could be Reiki symbols. It could be a symbol of your religious faith. Uh, Whatever, as long as it has power for you, you can draw it on all of your walls, your ceilings, your floor, your doors, etc. You can draw it over your bed. It's going to help to bring more protection and to cleanse. And you can also use sound, rattles, drums. We did do some of that yesterday. Chanting, singing, prayers, all of that would fall into sound. And then lastly, you can use crystals. So I'm going to just say, though, that some people make the mistake of if there's terrible energy in their home, they think they can just buy a crystal, and that's just going to like make like 1,000 demons leave their house. And that's just not enough. But a crystal can be very, very supportive. And I've created a particular crystal grid in the past that was the size of my entire bedroom. And that helped keep out an entity issue that I was dealing with. So yes, it can be very protective, but don't think that just buying like one little thing is going to fix everything. But that also, like, don't think that that means that it doesn't work at all. So just keep in mind that sometimes you have to use a lot of different tools, or you have to use that one tool in a more complex way, like learning how to create a grid and incorporate maybe different crystals, 3 or 4 or 5 different crystals in order to empower it even more. So Stephanie, jump right in. What else do you want to add? And remember, you guys, Stephanie, oh man, she knows way more about crystals than I do, and oils. So go for it.
Yeah, so I I was just getting so excited when you were talking through the list of things because then I was thinking about going through that chunk of programs in your program, and I was like, oh, I loved when we learned about sacred tools and when we learned about all the different recipes that you have. And so now it's like I get to take all that stuff I learned and then add my own intuition to it, and it's just really exciting. One thing I wanted to mention, though, that I felt was really important is when you're going to do clearings, whatever the object you put your water in, maybe have like a specific bowl, or I like to have a specific jar, either like a dark blue or the like a dark colored jar. Um, and then I use that bowl or that jar to put my sacred water in. And then it depends on what the purpose of what I'm doing. If I'm clearing out or if I'm bringing in positive energy, I do a mixture of different essential oils, and then I can use that spray bottle to spray like around my house, or even around myself. I do a lot of sprays clearing my aura, and that helps just throughout the day even to do clearing. Um, so spray bottles are a wonderful tool. But if you don't have a spray bottle, any bowl in your kitchen, you can put water in and then just table salt in and flick that salty water around your space. So those were two things that I was thinking about as you were talking. And but definitely the layered tools, like it will take multiple tools to do a job, especially depending on what you have going on in your space. And I know when I did some house clearings recently, we'd use so many different tools to target different aspects of the space and to bring different healing into the space. So it really takes learning about all of them.
Mhm. And also developing your intuitive skills, or having some kind of intuitive tools, so that, like, so if it's a complicated issue, you can discern, okay, which herbs do I need to use, or which oils are going to be best for this. But you guys, even if you don't have all of that, even if you haven't developed all of your skills yet, you can start off really basic, and I am going to give you a little basic step by step in a little bit. So don't feel like you have to know all this complicated stuff to even start. You can start basic, but then later, the more you know, the better you'll be at clearing out your own spaces, at your own home, and you might even be able to help your friends and loved ones or clients clear out spaces too.
And just on the crystals, just to keep it really basic, I'll list two gemstones that I love to use in space clearings, which is black tourmaline and selenite. And I love to use those two together because the black tourmaline tends to pull in and to draw whatever negativity towards it. And the selenite helps to clean off the black tourmaline. So it helps to kind of dissipate and to clear what the black tourmaline has drawn in. So sometimes I'll take a chunk of black tourmaline and a chunk of selenite together and grid them around a house or around this space, or use them when I'm clearing myself even.
Cool, very cool. And just FYI, since a lot of people might not know this, selenite is water soluble. So I mentioned about putting a crystal in some water. Don't put selenite in water because it will eventually dissolve, and you don't want that to happen.
Yes.
So if you're planning on putting a crystal in water, you might want to just look it up first and just learn a little bit about what you're putting together first. It's very easy to use Mr. Google online. You can
Yes.
just find out a lot of things.
Clear
But yeah,
quartz is going to be a beautiful stone in water.
yes,
Clear quartz is amazing
yeah,
because that
great.
really amplifies anything that whatever your intention in the water is, clear quartz will amplify it.
Great. And it's also very cleansing. Clear quartz is like very, very cleansing. And then I was also going to point out your spray bottle. I actually love that it's like it's got the trigger, because the thing is if you happen to be using a spray bottle, like it's totally fine to use just one of those plastic sprayers. Like if that's what you have, use that. But it's actually even better to have a glass bottle and to have a glass bottle that's colored. So yours is blue, right? Is it blue?
Mhm.
So you
Yeah,
can get one
I
that's
have both
blue
blue
or
and the
amber.
dark.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use either blue or amber, and what both of those will do is they help block the light. So it helps to hold the integrity of whatever it is that you've created. So if you've gotten holy water, it just helps keep it holy water without interferences. If you've created some kind of crystal water or moon water, keeping it in that kind of container is going to help protect it. So cool. All right. So why can I not see? I see one comment. Huh. Oh, there we go. I'm just getting used to this. We've got a lot of questions, so let's go through those. Okay, I think I'm back to the beginning. All right. Nick says, is it important where to get sage? So the very best way to get whatever herbs that you happen to be using is to grow them yourself if you possibly can. Because one thing that's happening is that there are areas where just like sage is being over harvested. And so if you can grow your own, then that's even better. Um, where I live in Arizona, there are also Native American tribes that you can buy it from, and they've blessed it. So the blessings are really helpful. Not everyone has the benefit or the ease of being able to get their dried herbs from a really high vibration place. So you might have to order them from Amazon or whatever. Uh, but what you can then do is that you can bless it yourself, or you can place it out under the full moon or in the sunshine, or like whatever you feel that you want to do. So there's not a specific answer to that, but yes, you do want to keep in mind where you get it from, and you're going to notice that some herbs. I'm just going to say herbs instead of sage because we need to understand that even though sage is very popular, there's a lot of herbs, dried herbs you can use. So just keep in mind that yes, there are going to be some that are going to feel more potent to you. But if you can't get a hold of those, then really you could even go to the grocery store. And if that's the only thing you can get a hold of tonight, go to the dollar store, buy some whatever dried kitchen sage or bay leaves or whatever it is that you want for cleansing. That's better than nothing. You can just bless it, and it's good. Okay.
Especially basil. You can get basil at the dollar store, and basil is all about abundance and prosperity.
You can buy it at the grocery store live too, and then grow a bunch
Uh-huh.
of it and then dry it. Yeah, it does need to be dry, otherwise it's not going to light. That's my wonderful clients yesterday brought a whole bunch of rosemary to contribute to our cleansing yesterday, but it wasn't dried. So like we had to get really creative in getting it to burn. So that's just an FYI. Okay, let's see. Tina says you can use a little bit of cinnamon and salt, mix it, and put it in your front door and back door. It'll keep all entities away. The cinnamon works too. Yeah, and cinnamon is also great for prosperity. So, so many of these herbs and tools will have more than one purpose. And I'll emphasize that there's so many different world traditions that have used various herbs and spices and other kinds of tools that we're talking about today. So we're not just drawing from indigenous cultures here, but from like every culture, even European cultures have burned dried herbs for protection um, for a very, very long time. Joe says, if you don't have a bathtub, any alternatives for a shower only? And she's asking about a salt scrub. Yeah, that's actually what I recommend is if you want to use salt to cleanse that and you don't have a bathtub or you don't want to take a bath, then you can create a salt scrub. You can actually make your own. Just take like a big container, put olive oil in there, essential oils to make it smell really nice, and put a bunch of salt in there, and then you just rub it on and then wash it off.
The other thing you can do too is take like the Epsom salt you would normally put in a bathtub and just put it in the bottom of your shower, because then your feet's going to be standing on it and you're still going to get some of that cleansing through your feet. Or get a big chunk of Himalayan salt rock. Um, Normally you think of them as gemstones or out any kind of salt rock, and but you can actually scrub with that in your shower, and it's amazing for scrubbing your feet.
Wow, I just learned something new from you today. I did not know that. I mean, I guess it would make sense, but it just had never occurred to me, and I'm totally going to do that. I love
It
that.
feels so good scrubbing your feet with a giant Himalayan salt rock.
Yeah,
They
that's so
dissolve a
great.
little bit, but they don't dissolve a lot, and so it just feels really good.
Yeah, I love that. Ming is saying, does the salt line have to be thick enough for the average person to see? Yeah, I mean, it should be a solid line. Yep. But if for some reason you really can't do that, like you have to be secret about it, which I understand there might be scenarios where you have to do that. Like even just sprinkling some is better than none. Okay.
Because your
Um,
intention and your heart when you're doing it is so important. And so that really feeds into it. Like when you're placing the salt down, thinking about really holding strong and feeling it in your body, like what is the intention of placing this salt? What do I want it to do? What do I want it to keep out?
exactly. And April is saying, I use a mix called Hot Foot. April, that's so cool. I believe that's from the hoodoo tradition, if I recall correctly. If you would like to um, like grab a link of what it is that you use, if you do happen to order it online and you want to share that in the Facebook group so other people will know exactly what you're talking about. If you have time and you feel like it, then feel free to share in that way because they might not know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It sounds really cool.
Yeah. Okay. And who is this? Let's see. Jessica's saying, what about a smudging stick with dried flowers, herbs, including sage? Would that be okay to use along with my intentions? Those, I'm glad that you asked. Those are really popular right now. There's a lot of metaphysical shops that are selling those. A lot of people are actually making their own herbal wands, and those are lovely. Like it really brings in a, a lot of good energy. And I love to use the ones that have rose petals or rose buds in them because it not only cleanses but brings in all this wonderful, beautiful, high vibration. Okay. Oh, yay! Are those dandelions?
Uh, y- yes. And then this side has a crystal to charge it.
Yay! Did you make that yourself?
No, it was somebody else made it and gifted it to me, and so I haven't burned it because I just really like the feel of it. So it's just sitting on my space over here.
She's hugging it. She doesn't want to burn it. She's gonna hug it instead.
Yep.
Cool. All right. And Tina says, and your shower, use eucalyptus and fresh eucalyptus leaves. Yeah, that's a wonderful way to cleanse your energy. You're welcome, Joe. Joe says, I would much prefer a tub, but none that I can get to in Mexico. April says, I have braided sweetgrass and white sage and Palo Santo sticks for clearing. Oh, April, thanks for mentioning Palo Santo. I actually had not mentioned that. That I was talking about other herbs, but for those of you who don't know, Palo Santo is just literally a piece of wood. And was there Palo Santo on yours? I don't think there was.
No,
It's
but I
just
have
a
a whole
little.
bunch of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a piece of wood that you light and you blow out and you burn it kind of like sage. That's cool. And she makes an energy clearing salt. There you go. Yeah, cool.
I also have a spray of it, which I really like.
Cool. Ming says, how about putting a bold salt line plus intentions and cover it with a doormat? Yeah, that's perfect. You can totally do that. I don't want it to be super obvious to neighbors. Yeah, that's a great solution. I love that solution. And you're
So you can
welcome,
also put
Stephanie.
crystals under it too with your salt.
Oh, yeah. This gives me new ideas. I don't have any crystals out front. Right now, I'm still at a temporary apartment, and so I kind of keep those things low key in the front. It's more energetics that I've done on the door. But crystals under the doormat, I love that idea so much. So here's the thing. I'm looking at the clock here. We do have some more time to talk, but I have another class later, so we can't go indefinitely. And um, so I'm kind of thinking, okay, let me think here. Hang on. Got to use my brain. Okay, here's what I want to do. Stephanie, if it's okay with you. Um, so you guys, Stephanie and I were having a really interesting conversation the other day about the uses between sage versus frankincense. And I really think that that conversation deserves to not be smushed in a hurry at the end of this Facebook Live. This was our first time doing this and figuring out how long it was going to take us, and etc. And so
And
what
you guys have
I
had great questions too, which has been super awesome.
Yes. So what I'm going to suggest, Stephanie, is that Stephanie and I, we're going to talk privately later and figure out a time when we can come on again, or even just do an audio Facebook Live where we get on and it's like we're having a girlfriend phone conversation. We had such a great conversation the other day about exactly what we feel like are the differences between sage and frankincense. And by the way, just a little sneak peek understanding is that my observation has been that sage tends to not be as strong for clearing out really powerful, nasty entities, but it's very popular. Sage is very popular nowadays. So everybody thinks that it works on everything. And um, Frankincense, however, actually works on a lot of the more intense stuff. But there are people that have argued with us over that a little bit, uh, at least with me over the years. And so I wanted to dive deep into that. So I think that we're going to have a whole Facebook Live where Stephanie and I are going to dive into that and talk about that more deeply. Because in fact, I wish that I had. I think was it a phone conversation that we had, or was it
It
online?
was over Zoom. We were having a one-on-one on
It
Zoom.
was Zoom. Yeah. So I wish that we had like recorded that
We had it
because
recorded,
oh
but it's smushed into other stuff. So you would
yeah
have to clip it. You would have to
yeah
cut it, go in there and like get that chunk of it.
right. Well, I think let's do a separate Facebook Live. That way everybody
Yeah.
can join us and ask questions and stuff and add to the conversation. So you can look forward to that
Yeah, I
coming
think
up.
that would be lots of fun to do a separate live.
Yeah, yeah. And we just didn't know. We didn't know. You guys, there's more questions and comments right now as well. I promised you guys, though, that I would give you some basic steps, and I'm going to give those to you right now. Now, remember, this is intended for people who are like really brand new to this, so it's going to seem really, really simple. If you're used to already doing your own elaborate stuff, then don't worry about this. If you are new to cleansing your house, or if you need a new idea, this is a very simple technique. And if you have a pen and paper, I want you to just write this down. So you're going to just keep it really simple when you're first starting out. Don't feel like you have to use all of the things I just mentioned, uh, water, smoke, oil, salt, fire, sound, protective symbols, like all of that. That's like overwhelming, and then you end up not doing anything. So start off simple, and I suggest that you start with smoke. So you're going to choose one thing or a couple of things, but at least one thing that you'd like to burn. So either an herb, I'm going to say like sage, rosemary, or bay leaf. And you can get those either at the grocery store or at your local metaphysical shop or on Amazon. Or if you're having more serious spiritual issues in your home, or you feel like you want something more intense for clearing, then you can use frankincense. Remember, though, if you're going to burn frankincense, you need to buy something called incense charcoal. And you light the charcoal, and then you drop the frankincense on top of that. The sage, rosemary, or bay leaf, you should be able to, as long as they're dried, you should be able to just light them with your lighter and create smoke. And so what you're going to do is once you've acquired what it is that you're going to burn, you're going to take that, the sage, the rosemary, the bay leaf, or the frankincense, and you're going to burn it in a fire safe bowl, creating smoke. And you're going to walk through your home or through the room that you're wanting to cleanse. And you're going to just say this prayer or invocation or intention. You're going to say, I cleanse this space with love and peace. I cleanse this space with love and peace. And you can take your hand or a feather and wave the smoke. Now, of course, there are certain ways you could get all elaborate on which room you're supposed to start with. Are you supposed to start in the east? What direction are you supposed to move through the room? But remember, on purpose, I'm keeping it simple for you. So just light the herbs and follow your guidance as to just follow your inner guidance as to how you're supposed to move through the space. Learn to listen to your guidance. You don't always have to follow a dogma of rules. Sometimes people are too dogmatic with house cleansings. So just follow your inner guidance and use your hand or use a feather and just use that smoke to cleanse your space. Even if you were to just do that a couple of times a week, that's going to be a tremendous way to cleanse your space. It's better than doing nothing. Remember, you don't have to know a whole bunch of elaborate rituals in order to do a basic clearing. However, if you want to learn how to go a lot deeper, I'm going to tell you how in just a second. Um, Stephanie, do you have anything that you want to add?
Um, I was trying to type somebody, oh, perfect. Somebody else typed the incense charcoal.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, I was trying to click and type with the answer.
Yeah,
Um,
incense
yeah,
charcoal.
the incense charcoal, sometimes when you're trying to get it lit, can take a little time to light it. And so you definitely want something to hold it with, not your hand. And I know you have a beautiful video, I think, on YouTube about using incense charcoal and how to light it. And so I think just doing that and following your intuition.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, you don't actually want to hold onto the charcoal because it will burn your hand. It gets very, very hot. Yeah,
Yes.
actually, if you go onto YouTube, you can just go onto YouTube and type in like how to burn frankincense, and you're going to find all sorts of free videos on there. So there's a lot. So there's so many free videos on that. I actually didn't have not created a free video on how to do that because there's like 10 million already. But there's a whole huge section in Spiritual Empowerment Academy that's in our psychic protection portal, and it's all on how to use different sacred tools for cleansing your home or cleansing your space. And I also, as a part of that, I teach you exactly how to do this process, like how to burn frankincense. But that's actually basic 101. That's basic clearing. So then we go way deeper. You learn how to use a reversal candle to clear out psychic attacks, to clear out entity issues. You get a whole list
I
of
love I
variety
was
of
just going to
different
mention
herbs.
I love the reversal candles. I
Yeah, me
loved
too.
learning that from you. It has helped my life so much. I loved all of
Me
that content.
Me too. Yeah. And then there's a whole list of all the different herbs and resins that you can use and for what for what purposes. That is like a tiny sliver of what's in Spiritual Empowerment Academy. Um, but if you want to learn how to clear out even your average amount of energetic junk out of your house, or if you're having more serious issues, then that would be the avenue that I would recommend is to get signed up for that. And then you have like instant access to all of that, plus a whole ton more. Let me see here. We do have a question that I will address in just a second. So before I address the question, um, I wanted to let you guys know that Spiritual Empowerment Academy is actually on sale for the month of January. So if you've been thinking about joining, I just a couple of weeks ago created tiers, 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 so that you can choose what level is affordable for you and what amount of support that you need. So some of those levels include actually all of the online content that I was talking about where you can get instant access. And there's like 500 hours of content in the, like, I think there's like 500 hours, Stephanie, of content in there.
Probably more.
Yeah. There's people that join and they like binge watch like the whole weekend or binge listen because you can just listen pretty much. They just binge listen like an entire weekend because they dive into one topic that they're really struggling with and it literally like solves their problem like immediately just from doing that. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And of course, you know, I have not announced my website today in today's video. You can go to psychicprotectionsanctuary.com and under the events tab, you'll find Spiritual Empowerment Academy. And that's where you'll get more info. And we have several people on our live today who are actually in that academy. Nick says, if you live somewhere humid, you can put those little bags that pull out moisture. I forgot the name. Silica. Yes, you can do that. Yeah. Do you for the charcoal? I'm not sure exactly. So Nick, give us more details. I'm gonna end here in just a second. That surely will clear out moisture, but I'm not sure what that is supposed to be used for in regards to spiritual protection.
I think he's
Joe.
talking about your charcoal getting wet. He's afraid like the charcoal, if it gets wet, can you pack the silicone things around it to keep it dry so it will burn your herbs better?
Oh, thank you. I was not getting where that was going. I appreciate you pointing that out. Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, actually silica. And there are other things that you can actually buy. I had an RV for a short time, and you can actually buy these things. You can get them on the internet, and you can like put them in a room or put them in a dresser drawer to keep that whole area dry. It's pretty cool. Okay. I just laugh at myself. Sometimes I do not figure things out. Okay. All right. I think we're done. I see some more comments coming through. But you guys, feel free to be as active as you like on the Facebook group. Spiritual empower sorry the free Facebook group Psychic Protection Sanctuary that we are all in right now. You can be totally active in there if you want to continue the conversation or share anything that you like to do for house clearings. I invite you to do that. And then my paid program is Spiritual Empowerment Academy. That's the one that I invite you guys to check out. By the way, I don't let just anybody join that program. My philosophy is less is more. And so anyone who wants to join does have to fill out an application and go through an application process so we make sure that it's a good fit. Because right now we have people who we just have amazing energy in there, and it's because people have to jump over a few hurdles in order to make sure that it's a good fit. And then that's why we have an amazing group right now. We have a couple of final comments. April says, y'all have been awesome. Joe says, thanks to both of you. This was fabulous. And Nick says, I love this. Thank you, everyone. Stephanie, would you like to close out by reminding everyone of your Facebook page so they can find you?
Yes, and then I will post a link to the group later too. And so my Facebook page is called Flowering Embodiment. And on there, you can scroll down and you can see the name of my group, which has a different name because of the title or the theme of it. So if you go to Flowering Embodiment, it's a Facebook business page. And then from that, you can find my other group.
Cool. Thank you. And Jessica, thank you for providing the link. She just posted a link for my Spiritual Empowerment Academy. Thanks for doing that, Jessica. And then also, Stephanie is going to be posting her link as a separate post. That way, everyone will be able to find it really, really
Yes.
easily later. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. Again, remember that we kept it real simple, but I think that you probably got a few cool ideas from this class, and you know where to go if you want to go way deeper into this topic. And you can Facebook message me or email me anytime. You guys, thank you so much. And now that I have figured out how to have a guest on Facebook Live, I'm sure that we will be doing this again. And Jessica just now posted the link to Flowering Embodiment. So thank you for doing that,
Yes.
Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us. This was really fun. We'll have to do it again.
Yes, and thank you for having me, Maya. I had so much fun, so I'm really glad that I did it.
I told you you would be glad that you did it. Awesome. All right, you guys, have a great night, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.